Hello, YouTube audience. Today is August the 16th, and we are experiencing a heat wave in Seattle. So, today the current temperature is 36 degrees C, almost 97 Fahrenheit. So, really hot day, and so today I would like to try to repot this ficus tree I have. So in the middle of the summer is probably the worst time to repot for the temperate climate trees, like the most tree I have, deciduous trees, conifers. They should be repotted in early spring, ideally right after they start to push new leaves, new buds. But it's not the case for the tropical trees like ficus. You can see, so it is. I heard that it is actually a good time for us to repot the tropical tree in summer in a temperate temperate climate, because it is they are used to these high temperatures. It doesn't hurt them to repot at this time, and it may not even think that it was repotted. It will just straight start growing straight after repotting. So that's what I heard. So today I'm going to try to repot this tree, and currently it's looking pretty healthy, and you can see a lot of these yellow rock-like things on the surface, because when I bought this tree, it is plotted. It was potted in a relatively the soil is very rich in organic matters, and so it's suffering from this thing called the fungus gnats, which is a little black insects that looks like a tiny fly, and their larvae like to feed on the fungus that's living in a wet soil, in a wet soil surface. So the soil is always wet in this plant, so it has a lot of fungus gnats in it. So I just add these yellow rock-like thing. They are called the mosquito bits, and they are actually full of a bacteria that is supposed to infect the larvae of the fungus gnats and kind of kill them. But the problem is the soil is almost never dry. I can wait for weeks and the soil doesn't dry. So I think it's time to change it into a soil that's less rich in organic matters. Put it into some proper bonsai soil. The reason why we don't want the soil to always stay wet is we don't want the root to rot. We obviously also don't want fungus gnats, but we want to be able to water the tree relatively regular, so that every time you water, you bring new nutrition and also new air, because as the water drains through, the soil, it actually bringing new air into the soil, which help the growth of the roots. The soil it was in was probably pretty good. It's probably typical soil from where this tree was come from, but it stayed wet for a little bit too much, so I would like to repot it into some bonsai soil for that purpose. So I'm just going to get started. First, I want to get rid of the mosquito bits in there. I'm going to try to take the tree out of the pot. And I'm going to break out most of the soil that's remaining and see what's inside. The soil is actually pretty good. You can see probably a lot of peat and some bark, and actually a lot of these little rocks, I think they may be pumice, which is going to help the drainage. So I want to see what's in the root base. I feel that this tree was probably just recently repotted, so the roots hasn't filled the pot yet. So I hope I'm not repotting it too early, because you don't really want to repot too often. Only when the roots start to fill Wow. I hope that I'm really not repotting too early, because I find out that the tree, the reason why the soil is not dry is really because there's not much root in there. I feel that this is something that the person who sold this tree just recently repotted the tree, which I didn't know. So it is probably why the soil never dry out. You can see there's not much root in it, so I probably don't need to do root pruning at all. That's the reason why the soil doesn't dry. Okay, well, I learned something about this tree. It may not be a good news, but it is something that I need to know, and it's probably also overpotted. And it's almost look like a cutting currently. So wow, that's something that's unfortunate, because you really don't want to repot when the tree was just freshly repotted. So this is probably not a good sign. So basically, person who sold this tree, they just recently repot the tree, or maybe even just take a new cutting and then put it into the container and then sold it. Normally these trees, they are not very easy to survive, because it just went through a severe operation and immediately sold, and we don't know that it was just repotted. So there could be problems associated with that. But I will see what I can do for the tree. I will just temporarily lay it down. And I'm going to wash the roots. That's a big surprise that this tree actually don't have much roots yet. So I would need to be very careful. Try to maybe not cut any roots, and just pot it into a new pot. You need to be in, and call it done as fast as possible. I guess people just people that's making this bonsai, it's probably a little bit too rushed to make money, want to make money fast, and they did not let the tree to recover from the repotting, and they just sell it right away, probably right after it was repotted. So which is not ideal for the plant, because a freshly repotted tree would require more intensive care, and if people don't know, compared to a well-established tree, if people don't know that this is freshly repotted, how are they going to give the proper care? to the tree to make sure it actually survive. Okay, I'm just going to try to not cut any roots. There are probably roots that would need to be fixed in the future, but I'm not going to fix them right now because I want to have every single roots available so that this thing survive first. So I'm just going to quickly repot it in there. Okay, just trying to do this as quick as possible. Do not waste time too. So now, survival of this tree is the object. It is not making a good root base or anything like that, but just survival. There are some ugly roots in there, but it's all fine. It's all okay at this point. I just want the tree to survive. Now that's something that I did not expect. I did not expect to see. There are so little roots in there. That's always almost crazy to think that there's only this little amount of roots in such a big tree. I definitely did not expect this before. So the roots are very, very crazy. I don't know if you can see it, but it really looked like a mess. It was entangled, just went through very massive operation probably right before I bought it, so absolutely not going to do anything to the roots. Just going to put it in and hope that it survives this operation. So, but I do need to make sure that the front of the tree is correctly identified, which I think it's here. Here is the front of the tree, and I'm just going to not cut maybe any of the roots and just fill in the rest of the soil. I was absolutely not expecting this completely crazy. I've seen this once where people just took a cutting and put them into the pot and immediately sell it, but I did not know with such a big and expensive bonsai, they would do that 2. This is literally just a cutting. Which made me worry about this tree, that it may not survive. I hope it would survive, but it's just very worried. Make people worry. But in the long run, it's probably good if the tree survives this operation. It's probably good to repot it, because this tree, the reason why the soil doesn't dry is because this tree was over potted. It was potted into a pot that's way too large for its root. It's probably went through very severe root cutting right after the tree was sold. Right before the tree was sold. I am making a big mess. Because this added stress that I did not know the root condition. It is a bit stressful to learn the condition of the root, and also don't have someone to help me to hold the tree, so I have to do it by myself. I'm tying the guide wire, trying to tighten the tree with the guide wire and see if I can hold the tree in place with this guide wire. It is not doing it currently, but I'm going to add one more guide wire to the back, and hopefully this is going to do the job. Okay, it's still not holding the tree very well. let's continue to try how it's going to do. I was expecting the tree to be full of roots, but the truth is there is almost no roots in there. That was absolutely crazy. Hold this thing in place? That's a question. I'm just going to keep adding soil in front. And hope the soil is going to hold the tree in place. Yeah, sometimes even bonsai could be stressful, which I did not expect this at all. How am I going to hold the tree in place? I may need to just add something. Maybe just put this bucket in there to kind of prevent the tree from falling. Okay, I think that's probably what I will do. Before the roots get established, I'm just going to do this. Okay, the tree is finally standing up. And my stress level dropped a little bit because the tree is standing. At least it's not falling down. And I'm just going to tie the wire a little bit more. Maybe just tie it in there. Try to tie it a little better.
so that the tree don't have a problem of falling. Once that's the case, I can think about other things. Okay, I don't think the tree is going to fall, so I'm just going to cut away the rest of the wire and start to add more soil. Oh, still, we would need this bucket to be there. Oh. That's absolutely stressful. Yeah, I think it's, from the nursery standpoint, it's not the most ethical thing to do, to sell something that's that vulnerable. But I guess they would need to make money to survive, so cannot blame them too much. Well, the tree, from the top of the tree, it looks pretty good, but only when you see the root, you know that the tree is very, very vulnerable. I was thinking before this repotting, I was thinking maybe the soil has some problem. Maybe the soil are too rich in organic matters. Maybe that's why the soil doesn't dry. But after I actually did the repotting, now I know that it doesn't dry because there are not much roots in it. I'm going to temporarily remove the bucket. First fill the soil and then put the bucket back. To support the tree, because the tree is leaning forward a lot. Okay, that side will be fine. And just have to impromptu the solution, how I'm going to deal with it. Just have to improvise the solution. I'm just going to deal with it this way. Wow, that was a crazy experience.
I didn't even think that the tree would stand up fine, given there was almost no roots
in there. I thought that for this tree to be able to stand up, at least the pot would be full of roots. But the result is completely surprising. I'm poking the soil so that it fell into the roots, the crevice of the roots. And if the soil sink, I can add more soil. Because I know that this side don't have much roots, so I probably don't need to poke on it for too much. So the last step, I'm going to put some sphagnum moss. Not the last step, the last step is watering. But I'm going to put some wet sphagnum moss on the surface to help it keep the moisture. This is absolutely surprising. Who would have known? People really sold this tree too early. It is amazing. But I'm not a nurseryman. I'm just a hobbyist, so I probably don't know the stress that a nursery person is facing to earn money and to keep the nursery running. But I do think that this is probably too rushed to sell this tree to anybody, because the probability of the tree dying is just so high. People don't know that there's almost no roots under this tree, and we don't know why the soil is not drying out, and people could overwater it or underwater it, which caused the tree to die. And people could repot it like I did, which I do regret after seeing the state of the root. It should not be repotted. Have been repotted for at least at least one more year, I would say. This is a very premature repotting. You don't want to repot a tree immediately after repotting it. So if you look at how little roots it's in there, it must be repotted right before it was sold to me. It's like, yeah, I don't know what it is like, but it is like asking someone to work a day after they deliver a baby, or asking people to work maybe a day after a car incident, because the damage a plant take for repotting, for root cutting, it is like having a car injury. is big, it is huge. And then you immediately transport it to a place that's maybe hundreds, if not thousands, miles away from its home, and there could be a lot of shaking on the road, and a lot of damage could be done in transporting the tree and selling them to someone that has no idea what the condition of the tree is, because from the top of the tree you cannot see anything. The top of the tree just look healthy. You don't know that it was just repotted. And it's probably in a significantly weakened state, which require intensive care. Okay. Oh. Yeah. So after this operation, I really hope that the tree survive. That's the number one thing that I want the tree to do. If this tree survives, then we can think about how to develop it. Because there are so little roots, I may just cut off some of the top layer of the tree and see if it would help its survival. This tree would have to be put into shade for a little bit and for it to recover. I didn't know that the roots, there are so few roots in there, but first I would need to water this tree. I would try to find a watering can. Going to water it in. So the standard for watering after repotting is when the water that runs off no longer has all those dust in it. But it may be a little bit difficult to achieve unless you water it for a long while. But I'm not going to be I was thinking I should throw away the soil, the old soil, because I thought the old soil was not very good. But since the soil is actually good, it is the tree that was not in a good state. So I'm just going to keep all this soil. I thought that the drainage of the soil may have problem. I thought that maybe too rich in organic matter, but it was not the case. The soil is a good standard soil for plants from a nursery, but the tree was just repotted before it was sold, and I would guess maybe perhaps 90% of the root, the original root of the plant, was cut away. That's why the soil never dries. You always find something surprising in the process of doing bonsai. I don't even know if this plant would survive, but let's hope for the best. I'm just going to water it a little bit more, so that hopefully the water that runs off will be clear. Okay, I have used up the water for the whole water we can. The water is relatively clear, so I will call this good. Okay. So this is the repotting of this tree, and the video is getting very long. So I'm just going to start a new video on a pruning of this tree because there are so little roots in there. I'm just going to reduce the top a little bit to reduce the stress of the roots. I will see you in the next video, and take care of yourself. Bye.